Okay, green hoodie. I think it's better than the gray. Is it a little much? Yeah. The reason I ended up with red because it's the only one where I had two blankets of the same color. Blue, green, orange, purple was all at the table, unfortunately. But red should be fine. Maybe. I also got pants to match. So, this video is going to cover the truth about school. The main 3 points. 1. Does school teach you life lessons? 2. Is the information that you're taught in school useful? And should they keep teaching it? 3. Is school an accurate representation of your intelligence? First, does school teach you life lessons? Does school teach you life lessons directly? Not really, no. And I've heard the argument, Tyler, you learn how to learn in school. Now, learning can mean a lot of things. There's one objective definition of learn in the dictionary. But depending on the context, it could mean two people could be saying it, and it could mean pretty different things. The only kind of learning I believe school teaches you for is taking in large quantities of information and regurgitating them in short time, about 1 week to a month later. And it doesn't really teach you to retain this information because from what I've learned, they don't, like, once you start one unit and end the previous one, they don't interact much. They don't have much correspondence. Like, it very much promotes the take it all in, hold in short term, regurgitate it, hence the note taking, regurgitate to increase memory, regurgitate, memorize, keep going, till you don't need it anymore, kick it out, make room for the more regurgitation and memorization. And does it teach you to learn that way?
Yes.
Do I believe that is the most effective way to learn throughout your life?
No!
Because you're losing most of the information. So, do I think that school, and does school directly teach any life lessons? When I mean directly, do they make a class for it?
No.
I don't think that does.
However,
I still think school serves a big purpose. What are a lot of things that people go through in school? Social anxiety, having to hang out with people they don't like, high pressure situations, high stress, having to present, time management. Like, school still teaches you a lot of stuff indirectly or unintentionally. When I say unintentionally, I mean the school system wasn't created with this in mind, to my knowledge. Maybe it could be. I don't know. But I don't think so. For example, when I remember, does high school teach you how to do your taxes?
no.
Not really. I mean, it was covered in my careers class briefly, but the brief unit that was already brief
was skipped in my class to
Save time.
And that teacher was a very prepare you for the real world teacher, which leads me to believe that really not a lot of important stuff was covered in that topic, which is why I skipped it.
Taxes aren't covered in the class. None of these topics are covered in a direct class.
However,
People deal with a lot of situations in high school that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life. High anxiety situations, high stress, and yes, people argue, well, time management is important. They don't have a direct class for that. Social interaction is important. We have a direct class for that.
however,
When I go to school, I remember the first 2.5 years of my schooling, first half of schooling, 8, 9, first half of 10, severe social anxiety. I had 3 friends. I saw them once a day as I walked to school. I'd show up to school, hood up, eyes down, wouldn't say a word to anyone. I was terrified. Not of necessarily talking to people, but that too, of course, but just the presence of these people, the presence of all these people, the presence of interacting with these people terrified me.
And it got to the point I had so much social anxiety, and I'm sure it came from other places. This rolled over into my personal life, right? And next thing you know, I'm not sleeping, and like I'm spending nights awake. I have no appetite. I'm nauseous. I have little panic attacks. I'm sweating. I'm shaking. My heart rate's rise. I'm getting muscle cramps. I'm dizzy. I'm queasy. Like the whole enchilada, right? And that, at least for me, was a hard situation that I had to go through. And I had to deal with that in 8th, 9th, 10th grade. Now, being with a lot of people, being around a lot of people is something you'll
Have to deal with for the rest of your life, right?
So, and of course, then through 10th grade, I learned to deal with this. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful, I'm so anxious, all this, and it's good to get these lessons out now, right? When not a lot's on the line. Like if I got an 89 versus an 86 in my Spanish class in grade 9, it doesn't make a difference. It really doesn't. They're both A's, right? But that's just it. That could have affected me way later. But I learned, because by the second half of 10, 11, and 12, I'm talking with anyone, right? I don't have social anxiety. It's totally gone. I'm talking to who I want to. I'm confident. Now, you could argue that was maturity, but I learned, not only did I learn to no longer worry about social anxiety, I learned my own coping mechanisms. I learned how to deal when I'm in a high anxiety situation, right? So the other night when I'm at a football game with a bunch of work guys, right? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, something's going on right now. It could have been the 3 Pepsis I had earlier throughout the day. It could have been a sugar overdose. It could have been a lack of sleep. It could have just been, it could have been the social anxiety because I'm with a lot of people I don't know. It could have been a lot of things, right? But all I know is that I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, I check my brow, I'm sweating profusely. Okay, how am I feeling? I realize, oh wait, my heart rate, it's pretty elevated. And then I click in, I'm like, okay, wait, I'm totally wired. I'm like, okay, I'm dizzy. And then after I'm like, okay, I'm sweating a lot, my heart rate's elevated, I'm dizzy, and I feel kind of nauseous. And I go, okay, well before, I'd spiral. I'd think, oh my gosh, what's happening? Am I dying? Am I having a heart attack? But now, because I went through this situation so much during school, and again, people were drinking at this event, right? I'm 18, I'm not drinking yet, I'm not of age. In Canada, 19 is drinking age, right? So also, like if I didn't know what to do, if I had not learned how to deal with that situation back in high school, it would have looked like I was just on something, drunk out the wazoo or whatever, and they would be like, oh, and it could have totally ruined my reputation. Absolutely. But instead, I sit there, I go, okay, Tyler, you know your judgment is impaired right now. You know you're not thinking straight, you know you're dizzy, you know you're nauseous, you know you look off. So what do? I sit up as calmly as I could look, and I remove myself. I say, okay, yep, gotta hit the washroom. I take deep breaths, and I walk around the arena once, and I come back, and it's in my control. That whole process, that could have really ruined my reputation with all these guys, because they would have think I'm underage drinking. They could have think, why is he dizzy? Why is he acting all off? That could have, and these are first impressions here, right? This is important. I was now, due to the life lessons I learned in school, for better or for worse, intentionally or unintentionally, I learned how to deal with these. I learned how I cope with this. I know that how do I do this? I calm myself, I isolate myself, I give me a couple minutes just to calm myself, to take a break, and I walk back in. Of course, there's also, I think about certain things, and I breathe a certain way, and I have my own more personal tactics that we won't get into today, right? But I learned those through the situations I was put through in school. Same with all other emotions: excitement, happiness, anger, sadness, frustration, embarrassment, high pressure situations. I know how to deal with those now. The high pressure of performing. Like grade 8, terrified to get up and present. Grade 12, I couldn't care less. Just walk up, memorize it, talk it out, you're done. And that was something I learned in school. Time management is learned the same way in school. And so when they say you don't learn any life lessons through school, that's not true. You do learn some very valuable life lessons. The problem, though, is it's probably not the best way to go about it. It doesn't work for everyone. I think that's the main takeaway. To say there's no life lessons learned in school is flawed. 2, is what you're learning useful? Now, inherently, you're going to say no. No, I don't need to know what King Henry VIII did. Oh, he got decapitated? Yeah, thanks. I'm not going to need to know that when I'm working on the job site in 10 years for construction. Or I'm running logistics or marketing for this big tech company. Obviously, and I'd agree with you. No, you don't need to know that. However, society needs a valid path and a good way to pass knowledge to generations, or else it'll die with the older people and we'll lose all this knowledge. We need a way, and for better or for worse, it is school. That's what it is. It's because we need history has a tendency to repeat itself if you don't learn from it. Okay, so we can't have a new generation, the people that control like the upcoming history, for what I'm saying, the people who are going to have power of that, the younger generation. We need to make sure they know what's going on. We need to make sure we can pass our knowledge down generations. And I think that's why we learn that sort of stuff. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I don't know. So is it inherently useful? No. Do we need to pass our knowledge down as a society? Yes. And of course, 5% of people are going to go on the science route, and the other 95 isn't going to be useful. Like the guy's going in construction, he isn't going to need to know about biology or chemistry or history, but he would have known a little bit, and the information would have been passed down overall. And while I think that was a bit more of a quicker point, I think that's why it is useful that we do pass on this information. Do I think we should have so much time dedicated to it? And do I think we should do it in the way we do it? No, I don't. But it is still useful. Well, you got good grades means you're smart. That's a flawed way of looking at it. New situation. 16-year-old, 84 IQ. 16-year-old, 136 IQ. Give them the same background, put them in the same pre-calculus class, pre-calculus 10. That guy's going to get better grades. And you could say, Tyler, you're wrong. Look at that. Everything was equal except their intelligence, except their IQ. We put them in the same class, and would you look at that? Higher IQ, better grade. True. Can it represent the extremes?
Yes.
However,
I think it loses your accuracy once it reaches a certain threshold of IQ. And maybe IQ isn't the right word for this. It's the best way I can use it to show what I'm talking about. For example, average intelligence, average IQ is, I believe, 100. And I know IQ, FSIQ, is simply an aspect of all of intelligence. It doesn't represent all of intelligence. I'm aware of that. So 100 IQ is the average, I believe. Once you get to the average IQ, school is no longer a good representation of where you fall in from average to the gifted, what I believe. Because the guy with 136 IQ and the guy with 100 IQ, they can both make it to 99% in just about any class, honestly. Because it comes back to what is school? Regurgitation. Stuff it in, regurgitate it. Will the guy with 146 IQ find it easier? Yeah, he will. But they'll both be able to get this. They'll both be able to get the 99. Because again, all you're doing, you're just regurgitating. And anyone with an IQ of average or above, they can regurgitate. So I think that's why it doesn't work. It's not a good accurate measure of intelligence. However, and more to this point, right? Like, I'm reading a book here, right? It's about the brain, neuroplasticity, yada yada you. I can regurgitate what I read in here, right? I was talking with a friend the other night. We were going about some various topics, right? And I go, oh, and gene splicing comes up, and I go, oh, I love this stuff. You know, it's so cool with the CRISPR and the way we integrate DNA into other organisms and the way it can affect it, yada yada you. And I go, and something about here was how sexual preferences are developed when you're younger, and I kind of go into this whole somewhat in-depth spiel about how it works. However, and of course after that I embellished on it further. That wasn't inside the book, but I just went on this whole in-depth spiel about it, which was pretty much just saying the foundation for what I was going to say after. But someone could look at just what I said and the way I just and I said some big words, right? And my friend goes, "Oh wow," and I would have come off as pretty smart, right? But all I was doing was regurgitating what was said in this book, or the prequel to this book. That's all I was doing. That inherently wasn't smart. You know what I'm saying? You're not smart until you can take the information that you were told, take other information, combine it, and use that to use those two, critically think, logically think, and come to your own conclusion that is true. Make a new discovery. That's when intelligence comes in. And that's where I think school lacks. Because school doesn't much say, take this, except for in essays. English essays aren't bad. They'll say, take this point, make your own conclusion with it. That's good, but it's not enough, right?
When you say, oh, he got an 8.9 in pre-calculus, he is smart.
No, he got an 8.9 in pre-calculus. He has a good work ethic? Yes, absolutely. And that's what they're looking for when they see degrees. Yes, they're looking for the fact that you have the base knowledge in it, but they're looking for the fact, oh, you have grit, you worked hard, you saw a goal, you wanted that goal, and you got that, and you achieved that goal. They show that you at least have an average intelligence, you at least have the minimum knowledge, but really what they're looking for is you have the work ethic. I got a 73 in that class if I took that class. He got an 89 in that class. He has a better work ethic? Yes. And of course I could say, yeah, but I just simply prioritize this class, and that's neither here nor there, right? From that look alone, it would be more accurate to say, okay, he has a higher work ethic than, oh, he's smarter, right? 89% in pre-calc, while it shows your minimum average intelligence, it shows a work ethic. Because again, any wazoo can just see the formula that's said, take that formula, plug it into here, and you're done. Because that's all school is. Right, that's really, exceptions, there's always exceptions, like English a little bit, but that's what it is, right? You're being told something and you're just taking it in and you're regurgitating it. Oh, what was it? What was it? 'Cause what was it? Oh, what was it? Oh yeah, look at that, fresh cut too. I love how excessive it is. Like, it's just so much poof. I don't keep it for long, but it's nice, it's fun. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so I'd say, what is the accurate way? What does school represent? Hard work. If you get a good grade, it shows you're hardworking. But if you get a good grade, it doesn't mean you are smart. It means you at least have an average intelligence. School is only an accurate representation of your intelligence on the extremes, as in once you're above an IQ, and it goes, and you can invert it. It's the same for once you're below an IQ. If you if you cannot physically, if you have a hard work ethic and you just can't get through school, for whatever reason, you lack a lot of intelligence. It's that simple. And yeah, that's true. But But on the flip side, if you just can't do good in school, is it going to show you whether you're like 84 or 72? No. It's just going to show you that, okay, you're below average. And that's the thing. You can either show you you're average and above or below average. Yeah, I think I like that. And I think, I mean, really, I just want to address this because all of my feed is this school hate. And well, I can get behind school hate. I did not like school, absolutely, right? But it's always like, I can hate on school. But when I see people hating on school for invalid reasons, I'm like, no. And I thought, why not just voice the thoughts? Because isn't that what social media is for, just voicing opinion? And at least my opinion isn't hateful, so I might as well go out there, right? But yeah, I think that is what I wanted to go over, really. Just so, in summary, does school teach you life lessons? Yes. Is it intentionally? I want to say no, but they do teach you life lessons. Is the school information useful? A minority amount of the information is useful to a minority amount of people. In general, the information is not useful, but we do need a vessel, that's what I'm looking for, a vessel to be able to pass the information down to our newest generation. I think school serves that purpose. Not accurate. It shows on average or above, or it shows you're below. I think I like that. I do think I like that.